Hi, this is Mrs. Kidman, and in this video, we're going to discuss how we subtract polynomials by using our stacking method. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our first polynomial. We always need to put this one on top. I'm going to write it out. 2x cubed plus 6x squared minus 1x plus 1. Now, I want you to note here that I took the sign and I grouped it with the number behind it. So the number goes with the sign in front of it. Also note that right here, there was no number there, but I added in a 1. By adding in those numbers that aren't actually written, it'll really help you clarify on what we're doing. The next thing we're going to do is write down this polynomial. So I've got 8 cubed, negative 3x squared, negative 2x, and then plus 9. And I'm going to subtract this whole thing. So what does that subtraction sign tell me I'm doing? Well, I need to do 2 minus 8, negative 6x cubed. 6 minus negative 3. Well, I can type that in my calculator, or I know a minus and negative changes it to a plus. So 6 plus 3 is plus 9x squared. 1 minus negative 2 will give me a positive 1. And 1 minus 9 gives me a negative 8. And so this is what that polynomial will combine to be. Now, this is a great way to do it if you want to do it by stacking. Some people will leave it all written out. And what they'll do is they'll actually just change the sign on all of those and make an addition problem. Now, we can also do it that way. Make it an addition problem and switch the sign on every single component. It's totally up to you, depending on which way works the best for you. I am going to do that for some of these next ones, just to show you on this next example what we can do to see that. So this next one here is 3z squared plus z minus 4 minus 2. That should be a z. Oh, that's an awkward typo. 2z squared plus 3z. Okay, so let's take a look at this. We're going to stack the first one. 3z squared plus z minus 4. Now, typically what we would do is I would write my 2z squared here, my plus 3z here, and then I would do it as a subtraction problem. Now, that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is we change the sign on everything. So the top line is going to stay exactly the same, but I'm going to switch the sign on these ones. So I've got a negative 2z squared and a negative 3z. And now this one is an addition problem. So either of these will both give you the same outcome. 3 minus 2 is 1. Z squared, z minus 3 is negative 2z, and negative 4 minus 0 is negative 4. Now we can also do the same thing here. We get z squared, z plus negative 3 is negative 2z, and negative 4 plus 0 is negative 4. Notice how we got the same result here, but we switched the signs. So if you prefer addition problems, that's a great way to do it, especially with those integers. Sometimes it can be difficult to think of what do I do when I'm subtracting this? What is that really asking me? However, if you're just typing those numbers into your calculator and you don't really care whether it's a positive or a negative or trying to keep track of minusing a negative makes it adding. If you want to switch those, that is totally fine, and you can leave it the way it is. It's up to you. I'm going to do this last problem. Without switching, I'm just going to subtract. But again, remember, it's always okay to flip all of the signs and turn it into an addition problem if needed. So I'm going to write out my whole thing, 7x to the 4th minus, and then I want a space, minus 9x cubed minus 4x squared plus 5x plus 6. And then I'm going to write this one underneath, 2x to the 4th plus 3x cubed minus x squared plus x minus 4, and this whole thing is going to be subtracted. So 7 minus 2 is 5x to the 4th. Negative 9 minus 3 is negative 12x cubed. Negative 4 minus negative 1 is going to actually be a negative 3x squared, because minus a negative is actually adding, so negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. 5 minus 1 is going to give us a positive 4x, and lastly, 6 minus negative 4 is the same as 6 plus 4, which will give us a 10. So this is what that polynomial turns out to be. So again, a reminder, if you want to change the sign on everything and turn it into an addition problem, we can always do that, or we can stack numbers. And just remember, we're only going to combine these coefficients. So 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 minus 3 is negative 2, 4 plus 0, negative 4 plus 0 is negative 4. We're only going to add those coefficients there. Our variables stay the same. That's so important to keep in mind, that our variables are not changing in this case. They are going to stay the same. The only time our variables change is if we are multiplying or dividing. Any other time, our variables are going to stay the same, which is why we have to only combine them with like terms. And that's what we're going to do there. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Please check out the next video in which we are going to discuss how we can multiply polynomials, especially when they have multiple components or terms within them.